Hey Super Cruisers, it's Frank from Cruising with Wheels. Now nobody ever wants to be humiliated and demeaned, especially while on vacation. Find out what happened to a disabled traveler while on a plane in need of the bathroom. And the response was, "Sorry, no toilet for you." In this episode of Frank Pushes Back. Today we're going to talk about disability rights, which are human rights. Now, governments and CEOs of major corporations and of every company, whether you're major or minor, need to wake up. Disabled company workers and vacation travelers are going to rise up, even if we can't get up and out of our wheelchairs. The basic accommodations for disabled citizens must be made available. Now, here in the United States, we have the ADA, the Americans with Disability Act, which became law in 1990. Now, the ADA is a civil rights law that prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities in all areas of public life, including jobs, schools, transportation, and all public and private places that are open to the general public. The purpose of the law is to make sure that people with disabilities have the same rights and opportunities as everyone else. The ADA gives civil rights protections to individuals with disabilities similar to those provided to individuals on the basis of race, color, sex, national origin, age, and religion. It guarantees equal opportunity for individuals with disabilities in public accommodations, employment, transportation, state and local government services, and telecommunications. Now, I'm talking about this because of an article I read and the video I saw regarding a woman traveling on Elba Star Airlines. Elba Star was founded in 2009 by Italian and British entrepreneurs. And the headline of the article was, "Paraplegic Woman Drags Herself to Airplane Bathroom After Flight Attendants Refuse Help." Now, the title of this video, for those of you that ever watched the Seinfeld series on television, you remember when you watched one of the episodes on Seinfeld, it was about the soup Nazi, and people would come into his restaurant to get his soup, and if he didn't like you, or whatever the reason, it was, "No soup for you!" It was a famous episode on that Seinfeld series. And it was I felt like, God, it's kind of the same thing. "Sorry, no toilet for you." So I want to tell you about the story in the article. I don't know if any of you have seen it, read it, whatever. But this woman named Jenny Berry, who is paralyzed from the waist down, was on an Elba Star flight. She was assisted in boarding the airplane via a transport chair that the airport provides for disabled flyers. Now, I have used a transport chair myself. It allows the disabled traveler to get from their wheelchair onto this narrow chair on wheels, which then fits down the aisle of the plane to your seat. And then you kind of hop off and into your plane seat. Easy and accommodating, and there's really not so much drama to it. You're just moving from one seat to another seat and rolling down the aisle and then moving to your permanent plane seat. No big deal. However, the drama begins when during the flight, Jenny has to use the bathroom on board. Now, from what we see, and she tells us, Jenny was seated toward the back of the plane. Not good. Okay, now that's problem number one. Kevin and I are usually at the front of the plane in the first or second row. Then, to make matters worse, when she asked for the transport chair to use to get her from her seat in the back of the plane up to the front bathroom, the flight attendant says, "Sorry, there's not one on board. There's just no room for it." Say what? That's problem number 2. Jenny points out that although the airline claimed there wasn't enough room to stow a transport chair on board for her, there did seem to be enough room for beverage, perfume, and cigarette carts to move in and the aisle. Now, every other flight she'd been on before, she has had a transport chair on board for her to use. But wait, let's add insult to injury. According to Jenny, the flight attendant then tells her, "You should have worn a diaper," or nappy, as they say over in Europe. Oh, that's problem number 3. Can you imagine? Just pee yourself. What? Now, they wouldn't let her sit anywhere near the front of the plane, even though there were spare empty seats up there. Her TikTok video, which had garnered over 8 million views, consists of footage of a flight attendant pushing an airline trolley as they continue to serve drinks as Jenny drags herself down the aisle using just her arms. You then see her partner in the video helping lift her onto the toilet. While their bathroom run was successful and she did, make it there, it didn't come easy as the space was small and not equipped to accommodate people with disabilities. Now, this is exactly why I hate long flights. I can't do anything more than 4 hours because I just can't hold it. And people, I am not wearing a diaper, and I am not going to pee myself in a diaper sitting in my airline seat. I'm 6'2", 225 pounds. I barely could fit in the bathroom on a plane, being able to get there and maneuver on my own, let alone Kevin helping me maneuver with 2 of us trying to, get me on a toilet, get me undone. It's embarrassing. It's demeaning. Now, most comments to her video were supportive and positive, with people saying sorry she had been treated that way. They were mad at the airlines for not handling the situation appropriately by just having a transport chair on board. Why was this an issue? Now, some others were not sympathetic at all, saying, well, why didn't your partner just carry you down the aisle to the bathroom? Answer, according to the article, she weighs 12 stone. Now, in U.S. poundage, it's about 168 pounds. Hard to do, carrying dead weight all the way down an aisle from the back of the plane, like hauling a dead person. I mean, come on, people. When our airline seats are in the front, okay, again, we're kind of right there. We're right there in the first row. My wheelchair goes down the airline skyway, down to the entrance of the plane, and there I stop. And Kevin, is able to grab me around the waist with one arm. He gets his finger and loops it in my pant loop and hoists me up. And with the help of the flight attendant, it's kind of stagger and drag, but it's no more than like 5-6 feet to the first chair. It's like right there. So I don't really need a transport chair to, transfer me in and move me 5 feet right there. I don't need it. So the stagger and lurch and literally throwing me in the first seat I don't have a problem with. Okay, we're the first ones to board. It's not like I got a whole audience watching me. But I remember when we didn't have seats at the front of the plane, and we were back in, row 17 or 18, needed a transport chair to get me down, and when the plane landed, a transport chair to get me back up to the entrance where I was then put in my wheelchair. Thank God it wasn't a long flight, and I didn't need to use the bathroom. But people who are not disabled and don't understand, the maneuvering and the process that's involved, they don't get it. Okay? They just don't. Now, Albastar Airlines has since apologized on its Instagram. Quote, Albastar would like to express our sincere apologies for the event that recently took place on one of our flights in relation to the service provided to a passenger with mobility problems. We are working to investigate the incident to ensure that this isolated incident does not happen again on any of our aircraft. Well, that public relations wrote that one. Isolated, usually doesn't happen. That's not who we are. Albastar, I really hope so. I sincerely hope so. And to other airlines who may have read this article or saw the video, everyone's on notice. We're real people. Now, it's not known whether the airline has personally reached out to Jenny Berry since the incident. However, her ordeal is sure to open up a debate on the treatment of disabled people on flights. Now, this is over in Europe, so things are very, very different over there than they are here. But even here in the United States, where we have the ADA, we still run into problems while traveling. I remember in 2018 on our NCL Bliss Alaskan cruise, we booked a whale watch excursion. Now, on the NCL excursion on their website, it showed the wheelchair symbol. So we were confident that all would be well, that it was handicap wheelchair accessible. And that means from beginning to end. From beginning when we left the ship, meaning that transportation provided would be able to accommodate my wheelchair. And then once we got to where the boat was for the whale watch, the boat that was going to take us would have accommodations to get someone in a wheelchair on and then off, and the whole thing. Wheelchair symbol, wheelchair accommodating, right? Well, did that happen? It did not. When we got outside to wait for the buses to take everyone to the boat, I noticed that every bus arriving did not have a wheelchair lift on them. Not one of them. And that's problem number one. Now, I looked at Kevin and I was kind of, I was excited about going on a whale watch, but I'm getting nervous as I see one bus after another pulling in, and not one of them has the back transport door that would be for a wheelchair lift. So we approached the tour guide, and she was standing there with a clipboard, ready to direct traffic. And we told her, I said, I don't see a bus with a wheelchair lift on it. And she looked at us and said, sorry, this is Alaska. We don't have those here. Well, that's problem number two. I looked at Kevin and I looked back at her and I said, this is Alaska, the 49th state in the United States. Here in America, I was so aggravated. And I was so pissed off and I was getting disappointment. And then she kind of twisted the knife a little bit more when she says that I should have arranged my own accessible transportation for this excursion. That, of course, was total BS. Now, that was problem number three. I was like, that is BS. This excursion was accessible to everyone. And you, as the company providing transportation for this, was responsible for wheelchair accommodation, wheelchair lift on buses. I was like, okay, this is, that little twist really kind of sent me over the edge. I was like, Kevin, just take me back to the ship. Go alone, do the filming. I'll watch it later on film. I'm so done with all of this aggravation, this ignorance. It's Alaska, it's the United States. We have the ADA. Wake up, hello. And then she kind of was like, seeing that I was like, meh. And she goes, well, I can try to get an accessible van for you to take you. And I was like, well, that's just mighty great of you. And so that's kind of, I was like, okay, let me sit. And comes like, okay, settle down. Let's just see what happens. I was like, okay. Now, while we were waiting to find out whether a van was going to come to be able to take me to the boat, we saw two other wheelchair guests. Now, both women were being pushed by their husbands, I presume, toward the buses. And you could see discussions going on with the bus driver. And then to our horror, we watched as both men picked up their wives out of their wheelchairs and literally, and I mean literally, dragged their wives up the bus stairs, their feet banging against each step as they were being dragged up from under their arms into the bus, like they were dragging a dead body onto the bus. It was the most humiliating, demeaning, and horrifying sight we had ever seen. And again, I'm 6'2" tall. I'm 225 pounds. There is no way Kevin could have gotten me out of a wheelchair and from under my arms, dragged me like a dead body up the stairs, onto the bus, down an aisle, and thrown me in. Come on! I can't believe that the husbands, first of all, thought this was acceptable to do this to their wives. We were sitting there, or actually I was sitting in my wheelchair. We were like, our mouths were like, it was unbelievable. But an accessible van did arrive and did take us to the boat. And at the end of it all, when the excursion was done, right, and we were all leaving the boat, here's the kicker, people. All the buses were pulling in to the parking lot to pick us all up. Are you ready? Every one of those buses had a wheelchair lift on it. Yeah, wasn't that amazing? I heard they didn't have those things in Alaska. A wheelchair lift on a bus? What's that? Now, if you can have it for picking us up, why didn't you, when the excursion was over, why didn't you have it right from the beginning when you were picking us up from the NCL Bliss to take us there? Giving me some BS. We don't have those here in Alaska. Somebody made a phone call and somebody was like, uh-oh, we're going to be in deep doo-doo. And then another a cruise we went on, it was a Carnival cruise back in 2016 aboard the Carnival Valor. We had an issue with the dining room hostess who told me twice that I had to, quote, get out of my wheelchair and walk the rest of the way through the dining room because the path she was taking us on was blocked by this huge floor-to-ceiling pillar. Girl, seriously? I'm in a wheelchair. Who tells somebody in a wheelchair to get up and walk the rest of the way? What do you think, I'm in a wheelchair because I'm lazy? Come on. I mean, it just comes down to passing the appropriate legislation and laws, education, training, and a bit of a modicum of understanding and compassion. The world has an aging population, people with disability issues, and really, and it's not only because of age, in my case because of an illness, or maybe because people were actually born with a disability. And we should all expect from our governments and major corporations and minor corporations to provide policies and training that accommodates our needs. It is a basic human right to be able to use a bathroom, to be able to eat, shop, and enjoy the basic pleasantries of life that everyone else enjoys. You can watch the videos I mentioned in the links below because the first one was from the NCL Bliss vlogs we did. It was episode 15, A Whale of a Tale. And then Tales from the High Seas, episode 32, Whale Watch or Bust. And then Tales from the High Seas, episode 1, yes, the original one, Carnival Valor, Wheelchair Issues. The article that I'm talking about today, you can find on Travel Radar and the link below. I want to thank you for joining me today for this important topic. And remember, Don't just watch our videos, and I know you enjoy when I do the Frank Pushes Back, but become a regular Cruising with Wheels family member and hit that subscribe button. Also, that little bell next to it so you'll get automatic notifications when our videos go live and when we go live for our live streams every other Sunday. And we're also on all the other social media platforms, people. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. And always remember, as we would say to you every day, travel safe and cruise often.